Hello, good morning. Excuse me, I'm 2 minutes late. But here I am. And as you can see, very décontracté, as we say in French, very casual today. Well, working from home, I guess. But listen, great to see you all. And also, I think it's very pertinent because it ties in with today's topic, which is all about art. We're going to be looking at the language, the idioms and expressions you need to describe art and artwork. Quite a few people have been asking about this. It's a very difficult subject, ideas-wise and language-wise, because you may be an art fan, but if you're not, what do you talk about? So I'm going to see if I can elucidate and help you get some ideas today. Hi, Sharma. Nice to see you. Good morning. Hello, Jerry. You're waiting. I'm so sorry, Jerry. I have kept you waiting for a couple of minutes, but the good news is I'm here now. Hi, Jaspreet and Emily. Good to see you both here. So we're going to look at the exciting topic of art. Does anybody like art? Soft spot. You have a soft spot for. That's fantastic. Love it. Great. Nice to see you here. And Katazina, good morning. Ruth, good to see you here. Sorry for being late. Little does Ruth know, I was always also late. Tran, great to see you too as well. And Feline and Dex. Great. I feel like I'm sitting in a coffee bar with a group of old friends. Seems like I've known you for such a long time. So here we are. Now then, if you do like art, you will enjoy this. If you don't like art, you will enjoy this. I hope you will find it useful, at least. Now, Ruth has studied humanities, so that's going to be useful. Irina, literature and photography. You see, art, this is the interesting thing, is not only about painting, it includes, well, as Ruth says, the humanities. It can include photography, film, dance, song, literature, a wide range. But of course, some of the questions are often about museums, art galleries. So they're going to be more specific about that kind of art. Morning, Mary and Khalid. Healthy and joyful, Khalid, as always. Yes. Irina, good morning. Barbara, Teresa, Amber, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Good morning. And also Quesito. I hope I could have this lesson before I took my exam. Oh, not you hope, you wish. You hope is about the future. But if you've had your exam, you wish you had this lesson. Part 3 was about art. Look at that. I came too late with this topic, never mind. Fatma likes to dabble in painting. Brilliant. I love that. Dabble in. I'm not sure where that came from. Was that one of my videos? But I like it. Dabble in. If you dabble in something, you try it. You try your hand at. That's great. Let's write those down, because dabble in something, in painting, it's a great expression. Thank you so much. For that, Fatima. Dabble in painting, which is the same as try my hand in something. Try my hand at something, excuse me. Painting. Try my hand at painting. Although I'm a doctor. Come on, Fatima. They're not two different things, surely. Although I'm a doctor, I like to dabble in painting. Because I'm a doctor, I like to dabble in painting. Handcrafts, handicrafts, great, Fatima. Those are also good. Music, Casita, absolutely right. Honing, a great way to hone the inner talent, Jaspreet. To hone your inner talent. That's an interesting expression. It's also a good way to express your feelings. Hi, Jerome and Tanja is not keen on art museums. Yeah, but you will enjoy this. And if you don't... No, I hope it will be useful. My clothes is outstanding. Boy, Hey, it's because it's art, right? We're on the topic of art. Fashion, clothes fashion could be art and artistic. Yes. You Fatima, you got it from my video, yeah, to dabble in. I sometimes see my own expressions and go, that's brilliant. Where did you get it? And then I remember, I taught it. Great to dabble in something. Now, just before we begin, somebody asked me very quickly, they said, Keith, where is your online course? And I just wanted to let you know, because just in case you're interested, if you go to the website, right, this is my website. I know this looks like an advert, but it's not meant to be. You see that button, my online course? When you press there, it goes blue. No, it goes blue. It takes you to another page that tells you about the website. And if you go down, if you see the Learn More button, it takes you to Udemy. And this has confused a few people. So the website, the course is on Udemy. It's not on my website. So you have to subscribe to Udemy and sign up there. And then subscribe. You just sign up and join the course if you're interested. Anyway, more important things. Let's have a look at art. Art comes up in part 1. There's questions about museums. Do you go to art galleries? Do you like art? Were you taught painting at school? Those kind of questions. Part 2, there's a question about describe a work of art that you saw. There used to be a question, describe a statue in your city, which is artwork. The part 3, there's the questions about art. Should children study art? How do children benefit from learning art? How has art changed in recent years? There's questions about colors, right? That's a perfect opportunity to talk about art, questions about colors. So there's lots of things. My point actually today is don't only focus on the recent questions. Of course, that's useful, but every 4 months, the questions change. So if your test is going to be in May or June or July, there'll be different questions. Now, there'll be some of the same questions. There'll be some new questions. And there'll be some of the old questions that are recycled, right? Ielts is environmentally friendly. We recycle. They recycle questions. So past questions come in. So actually you need to look not just at the questions now, but at a wide range of questions, and actually just focus on the language you need. So not just how do I answer that question, but what's the language I need? Because that will help you be more flexible, get a better score. It'll help you with English communication the rest of your life, right? So that's my tip for today. Okay, so let me share some of the questions, right? I'll just put in some questions that are coming up or have been coming up. There are a few. There's a few more here, as I just mentioned. And we'll be looking at the language, right? At how we answer these kind of questions and the language we need. Right, Des, I'm coming back to some of your old comments, right? It's such a broad term, includes visual, musical and performances. Yeah, absolutely. It does theatre, right? That's art. Hi, Cecilia and Lali. Oh, Lali, thank you very much. That's great. I'm glad you enjoyed the course. And Nyok Ann as well. Great. Art is a form of expression, having extended in any industry. A piece of art can be seen in anything exceptional. Well, that's very philosophical, Mary, but why not? Absolutely. Hi, Colleen. Right. And Yen has just studied writing, and now you're having a speaking class with me. Brilliant. Great. Nag is here as well. Hello, Nga. I can't pronounce your name. Nga, I think. Vyacheslav, when I successfully deliver examples and explanation, it is art. Brilliant. Everything is art, right? So to help me today, I've been sneaking around the house and I found an old book that I bought my daughter when she was younger, when she was about 6 or 7, she loves art, right? As most kids, they like painting, but she's exceptionally interested in it. And I remember I bought her this book, right? 13 Art Movements Children Should Know. And this book is absolutely amazing. I'm going to show you some of the pictures, and it will help us illustrate some of the language. So this is not a complete art lesson, but it might turn into one. You never know. English and art. 2 for the price of 1. What's that expression? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. What a strange thing to say, right? Why would you go around killing birds? But kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay, so let's begin with museums and art galleries. Okay, so do you like to visit art galleries? Okay, well, I often take the opportunity to go and visit an art gallery, especially if I'm visiting a new city or a new country, because it's a great opportunity to see the art and the culture of that country. I love browsing through the different exhibits and different rooms. Normally, an art gallery will have a special exhibition, normally a short-term exhibition. And if it's something like Romanticism or Impressionism, I will most likely go and see that exhibition to take in all the different paintings. I love portraits, landscapes, even seascapes. So I'm a bit of an art fan, and I really do enjoy going to art galleries. It's a bit of a long answer, but I really like art, and I think the examiner will notice if you like art and might let you talk a little bit more. So we've just got some nice words, right? We've got exhibition. We have exhibitions at an exhibition at an art gallery, and that's a display of different works. So we can talk about works of art. We can talk about, of course, paintings, but not only paintings, because there are sculptures, right, as well. Sculptures. Paintings and sculptures. Sculptures are, I'll show you a sculpture. It's something not painted. Something not painted. Come on. Oh, come on. Here we go. Here's a sculpture. Right. That is a sculpture. It's made out of marble. So most sculptures are made of marble, right? Made of marble. So they're these solid figures of normally people, but not always people. Now, you may have noticed different kinds of painting. I like portraits. So a portrait is the face. So what today you would call a selfie, in art we call a portrait. I say we. Why am I saying we? I'm not an artist. A portrait. We have, if it's mountains and trees and rivers, then it's a landscape. A landscape, because it's the land. So any kind of, nature is landscape. And interestingly enough, if it's not just the land, but it's the sea, what do we call it? We're so original, aren't we, in English? A seascape. Great. It's a famous painter called Turner, who used to do lots of beautiful seascapes, a British artist. I'm so proud. He's a great painter. So you've got seascapes. And finally, you've got this one. I wonder if you can guess what this is. And those of you who speak French or Spanish or a Latin language, you may be able to guess. Still life. What is still life? Right. As you're just telling me what still life is, let me say hello to Zakia. Hi, Zakia. Thank you for coming. Oh, Fatma says art is considered as a type of meditation. That is very, very philosophical as well. That's very deep for a Thursday morning. It's a kind, I think you're right. I think it's a kind of communication, but a communication lost in time or captured in time, because the artist painted 400 years ago. is now communicating with you in the present moment, and you're receiving that message lost in time. It's interesting, right? Tran, a treasure trove of knowledge. I like that, Tran. I used to go to a historical museum a couple of years ago. I realized it had a treasure trove of knowledge. Brilliant. A treasure trove of knowledge. Write that down. A treasure trove of knowledge. Excellent. Just in case you can't find it, let me plagiarize it, Tran. Thank you. I like that very much. To get a deeper insight, great collocations. Get a deep insight into something. You get a deep insight into the country, into the culture. Great answer, Tran. Lovely. Yen says we're talking about fine arts. Yes, we are at the moment. That's right. Les belles arts, the fine arts. Yes. Brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. Scenery, good. An example for portrait. Good question. Here's a portrait. There's a really nice one in here, actually. It's a Baroque portrait, and it's great. Those are portraits, right? The man and the woman, the portrait of the man, the portrait of the woman. It's not moving painting. Well, that's okay, Jacob. Develop more. Jiangdu, welcome. Great. Sculptures are made from plaster. Well, some of them are made from plaster, bronze, marble, or different kinds of stone. Ivan Ivanovsky. Ah, yes. Describing something that is still. Lala's hit the nail on the head. Spot on. Spot on. Hit the nail on the head, which means to get it exactly right. Get it exactly right. Well done. It's describing something that's still. So still life is the vase on the table, the fruit on the table, the flowers. Do you remember Van Gogh's sunflowers in the vase? That is still life. Because it's logical, right? It's life. It's a plant. It's alive. Even a fruit, it's still alive. But it's still, because fruit doesn't move unless you throw it at somebody. Throw tomatoes. Don't throw tomatoes at me, even virtual tomatoes. Anybody throws tomatoes, I'm going to throw them out of the classroom. It's okay, Jacob. Feline, still life is a piece that features an arrangement of inanimate objects. Brilliant. Inanimate objects is a really nice collocation. So objects that do not move. Inanimate objects. Now, Mary enjoys nature. Oh, you mean natural artwork, right? Artwork of nature. Yes. Waterfalls. Ah, okay. So that's real life. Okay, great. So brilliant. So we've got different kinds of paintings. What else? Now, I'm just going to throw at you some interesting language, right? Because when you talk about a painting, you say, well, it's a painting of a flower. It's a painting of a man. Okay, that's good. But let's up the level a bit. Let's make it more interesting. This painting, and let me show you a painting here as an example. How about this one, right? This painting depicts a woman with flowers in her hair. This painting depicts a woman, right? So it's a bit more interesting. It shows or represents a woman. So we often use this, especially in art, and I'm just going to paste and copy. Paste and copying is an art sometimes, especially with my mouse. I've got one of these wireless mices. Mices. One of these wireless mice, and half the time it doesn't work. You're like, because it doesn't work properly. Anyway, the painting represents a scene from the Bible. It depicts a woman. It depicts a man. It depicts a landscape. Really nice, okay? Now, you can also say, this painting here, right? It portrays a woman from maybe 300 years ago. It portrays a beautiful woman. It portrays, stress on the trays. It portrays a beautiful woman. Try that with me. It portrays. It portrays a beautiful woman. Good. Great. Now, so the painting portrays the queen in a robe, for example. Okay. So that's how we can describe things a bit more interestingly. Now, when we talk about feelings, because some of you have mentioned art, I think it was Fatima said, art is a meditation. Art is a kind of communication captured in time. That was mine. Brilliant. Love it. Patent. Art is communication captured in time. That's great. Now, we can also talk about the feelings of art, right? So art evokes a feeling, or this painting evokes a feeling of love, or it evokes a feeling of enjoyment, right? It evokes a feeling. That's really nice. It creates a feeling, right? But slightly better language. It evokes a feeling. And connect, evokes, it evokes. Try that with me. And those of you who are on the train going, I can't, Keith, I'm on the train. There's all these people looking at me. Don't worry. Nowadays, we've got so many people talking on phones and headphones, speaking to themselves. Don't worry. So repeat with me. It evokes. It evokes. And try and get that as a sound. Don't think about the words. Think about the sound. It evokes. It evokes a feeling of joy. Great. It evokes a feeling of joy. It does. Now, there we go. It evokes a feeling of joy. This painting evokes a feeling of love. This painting, well, evokes a feeling of happiness, right? Or this feeling evokes a feeling of romance. Maybe Monet was quite a romantic chap. Okay. You can also say, let me give you this one. As I said, captures is nice, right? It captures a feeling of happiness, or it captures, to capture. It captures the values of that society, or it captures the culture of that country. Okay, so there's really nice expressions we can use. It captures the values of that period, or it captures the feeling of the subject. Again, the subject is the person being painted. It captures the feeling of the subject, or it captures the feelings the artist must have felt. Nice tense. That will get you extra marks. Okay, great. Let's move on. We've talked about art, paintings, and feelings. Now then. Oh, yes, Ben. Yen. You're saying the word can be mispronounced as betray. It betrays a feeling. You're right, it betrays it. But the difference between b and p, as you probably know, is p. When you practice p, it's aspirate. My test for a p is to take a piece of paper and go p. It's too many times folded. Right? It portrays. Can you see it moves? It portrays a feeling. It betrays. Now that's B, but it portrays a feeling. That's how you tell the difference. Don't go into the exam and say, excuse me, Mr. Examiner, this painting portrays a feeling. The examiner will feel you are nuts and probably ask you to leave the room. Or just say, no, Keith is my teacher. Oh, okay, Keith is your teacher. Now I understand. Depicts. No, Galina, we don't pronounce the T in depicts. It's not depicts. You can, but to be honest, very, very few people do. We just connect it together. Depicts. We can be quite lazy as well. It's called an elision. There's a sound that drops when we do that. Great. Jerry says, art is a kind of link between person and their souls, which is adjust their emotions. Between persons, between people and their souls, which adjusts their emotions. It's very nice. It is. Pachu, welcome. It captures the moment. Like it. Very good. Pachu is the first time here. Welcome. Hi, Raj. Welcome. I know you for 4 or 5 months, but I finally got here. You must be on a very slow train, Pachu. It took you 4 or 5 months to get here. Mary forgot it was Thursday. How can you forget it's Thursday? It's Keith Day. Galina, thanks. Great. Okay. So we've got some really nice language. Now then, I'm going to show you a little bit, because I think also when we're talking, as you noticed in my first answer, I talked about Impressionism and Romanticism. In order to get deep with some language, I'm just going to show you a few extracts. It's like story time, isn't it? Are you sitting comfortably? Look, there is the full, that one on the front page. Look at that. I once went to an art gallery and I saw a picture, and it depicted a woman in a beautiful, probably a wedding robe, and it really captured the values and the sense of beauty and romance that was typical in that era. You could say anything, couldn't you? Now then, so, okay, 13 art movements. Children should know, students should know. So which art movements do you know, right? Write it down, the name of some art movements that you know. Now, it doesn't have to be European. This book is Eurocentric. It's mostly about European art, but you can talk about Asian art. You can talk about Russian art, South American art, anything. Whose picture is that? I don't know. Let me find out. No. I don't know. Some art gives a nostalgia feeling. Do you think children should study art? I think studying art is not a must because not all the subjects are interested in it. Not all the students are interested in it. The art subjects which the students are not talented will lower the overall marks. Yes, but on the other hand, art is a great way of developing creativity and thinking out of the box, which is a fundamental skill young people need now and in the future in this information age. Arzak, welcome back. Right, we've got, and I still don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to find out right now. Hang on a minute. The Enlightenment. Brilliant. The Enlightenment. Great. Any others? Come on, everybody. Come and tell me what you think. Bear with me. Bear with me. Da, 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 da. Ah, Qian Qian Yu. Got it. The Enlightenment. Nice. Still life paintings come to life through artists, says Teresa. Great. Renaissance pop art, arte povera. Arte povera, I've no idea, but that sounds great. Surrealism, great. With 2 R's, good. Arte povera. Let's find out about arte povera. It's a contemporary movement, arte pobre. It's a contemporary art movement that took place between the end of the 1960s and the beginning of the 1970s in major cities throughout Italy and above all in Turin. Arte povera. Brilliant. I like it. That's great. Pop art, I'm going to talk to you about, because pop art, we've got Andy Warhol. Expressing our feelings through art can be a stress buster. Yes. When cannot understand surrealism, I'm going to help you in a moment. Galina, I totally agree. Studying art helps people develop emotional intelligence, and that is such a trendy thing. That's a lovely one to throw in your test, emotional intelligence, and develop emotional intelligence. The Renaissance, which of course means the rebirth. I think it's the same as the Enlightenment. It's the rebirth where we were born again, the Renaissance. Right, excellent. So let me take you on a whistle-stop tour. That means a very quick tour. Hang on. A whistle-stop tour. Why do we call it a whistle-stop tour? I don't know. But a very quick tour of art in the last 500 years. Ruth, Baroque, exactly. If I want to talk about a piece of art, should I give a little background about the painter? Mortaz, if you have the background, yes, that will help. Yes. Jacob, totally agree. It's one of the most important estates for a country. It is necessary, but not a trust. Pre-Raphael. Oh, right. The Pre-Raphaelites. That's great, Ruth. So they've got the Raphaelites and the Pre-Raphaelites. Surrealism. Right, Mary, you've got all your artwork there. Okay, if you're sitting comfortably, we're going to begin. Wow, AD 1000. So we're going back 1,000 years ago, right? We have the Romanesque style from the Romans, of course. The Romanesque style. Romanesque painters and sculptors spent their time depicting stories from the Bible, making those stories come alive on the walls of medieval churches and cathedrals. Things like that. There's a painting depicting Christ surrounded by maybe his disciples, if not angels, capturing the values of that time. Great. Romanesque. Then we have from about the AD 1000 to AD 1500, the Gothic era, right? As medieval cities continued to grow, a new kind of art arose in Northern Europe. This Gothic style was more elegant than the heavy Romanesque, and it began to show people and objects as they appeared in real life. And it became more real. So things like this, Gothic, right? The Virgin Mary with Jesus and lots of other people. That is the Gothic style, making things more real. However, this is Gothic. When was the last time you carried a little house around and had wings on your back? Not that real, but maybe still getting a little more real. As we move on from the 1400s to the 1600s, we come into the Renaissance, to be born again. And this was the past and the new man, like me in my nice little hoodie, the new man. Renaissance painters and sculptors. So you've got a painter and a sculptor. Notice the difference. Puts his book down, comes over to the keyboard, the mouse that doesn't work. Sculpture with a ch is the thing. Sculptor with a t is the person, right? So work on your pronunciation. Sculpt. And I'll work on my spelling. So the thing is a sculpture, like cheese, sculpture. The person is a sculptor, like t. There you go. The Renaissance. So the Renaissance painters and sculptors relearned the art of ancient Rome. Do you remember the Romanesque period? They also began to glorify the achievements of real-life men and women. Now that could be the 21st century, glorifying the achievements of men and women, equality. And there it is. Look, two wonderful portraits depicting a very noble man and maybe a royal lady dressed in some lovely black robes. The man has a, well, a religious kind of dress. And it captures the values of equality in that period. You see, equality is not a new thing. All the women in the group are, of course it's new. Equality, we've still got a long way to go, but hopefully we're getting there. Now, this is also Renaissance. You may recognize this. This is Michelangelo. Well, it's not, it's Moses, but it's the sculptor is Michelangelo, and it depicts Moses from the Bible, right? And it captures maybe the essence of Moses and the values of that time. But listen to what it says. Now, this statue of Moses was made by the great sculptor Michelangelo, who was a master at depicting the human body. You can clearly see the muscles bulging out of Moses' arms and the fierce expression on his face. In the Bible, Moses led his people out of slavery in Egypt and brought them to a new homeland in what is now Israel. Moses must have been a powerful, strong-willed man to do all of this, and Michelangelo captures these qualities in his work. Great. It would be good if you could take this book into the exam, right? Sneak it under the table, and as you're answering the question, Michelangelo captures the qualities in his work. That would be great. So we move on from the 1600s to the 1800s. We come into the Baroque. Now, somebody else talked about Baroque, the Baroque era. Talking about Gothic, Chen thinks about Edgar Allan Poe. Well, yes, Edgar Allan Poe, those beautiful stories. They are quite Gothic, aren't they? I think about the Addams Family when I think about Gothic. Yes. A great book to study art. It is. This should be an English book, not just a sculpture book. It's a lively book. It is. It's brilliant. So Baroque, right, is a passionate style. So 1600 to 1800, Baroque is passion. The Baroque age produced art full of drama and emotion for kings and popes, but also for the growing merchant class. The merchants are the tradesmen, right? So it was developing art not just for the kings and the popes, but also for the business people, not the normal people, but people in the middle of the hierarchy, business people. And one of the most famous here, right? That's Baroque. Is this picture here? Can you see that? Now, this is a sculpture made of marble, and it depicts, I can't remember who it depicts. It depicts a lady, and it shows the passion and the love that the lady has. I think it captures the essence of what that period, the Baroque period, was all about. Amazing, right? Now, we move swiftly on to the next period, which is 1750 to 1830, neoclassicism. So you've got classical art and romantic art, but this is neoclassicism, which is a return to the ancient style. So the Baroque style was at times flowery. They call it a flowery era. It was quite about love and passion and quite flowery. Neoclassicism came back to reality and wanted to make art more about real things, real people. So new discoveries in archaeology inspired neoclassical artists to abandon the flowery Baroque style. Instead, they created images that captured the severe beauty. Severe beauty. Wow. They created images that captured the severe beauty and the ideals of ancient art. Things like this. You can see, right, it's slightly more real, slightly more classical, down to earth, and it captures the severe beauty of this lady. It depicts maybe a more Madame Reclamier, maybe a more normal lady, don't know. This is oil on canvas, and I forgot to mention earlier on different painting styles, right? You've got oil on canvas, a lot of paintings you'll see will be oil on canvas. You've also got watercolors. And when we look at the Impressionist era, you'll find lots of watercolor paintings. And then you've got also acrylic. Acrylic is more, acrylic is a kind of paint which I think is used quite a lot in modern art as well. Right. Can we talk about the art of Picasso? Yes. That's true. That's true, Casita. Can't take it in there. Severe beauty. What does that mean? That's a really good question. I think severe beauty, striking beauty. Severe means strict, but I think it's just striking, incredibly strong beauty. Yeah. Miramonte, you're not late. Of course you're late. Start at 10 o'clock. You're 45 minutes late, but don't worry. We're still discussing a few things. We're going to move on to Romanticism, 1790 to 1850. And Romantic artists were inspired by the power of nature. Their masterworks gave life to the natural world, endowing mountains and seascapes with their own personalities. Endowing means giving. If you endow the mountains and the seascapes with their own personality, you're giving them the personality. Endowing mountains and seascapes with their own personalities. And here's one of my favorite painters, Turner. Here we go. That is a picture by Turner, a British artist, depicting a train emerging from the fog and the blurred landscape and seascape below, representing the loneliness of man, but emerging into a brighter future. That's what I think, anyway. We then move on to realism. Is this a bit boring? It's too much art, isn't it? Well, do you want me to carry on, or shall I go back to IELTS questions? I get wrapped up in art. While you're thinking, realism is, during the 1800s, artists were becoming interested in the lives and struggles of everyday people. Gustave Courbet and the realists brought their lives into focus. So realism became real, right? Things like that. It was a real picture showing real people. There's no wings. There's no people carrying buildings. It's like real life. And then you've got, okay, some of the most interesting, Impressionism. This one is a Renoir, I think, right? Now, Impressionism is a different approach. The Impressionists took their canvas and paint out of the studio into nature. And there they revealed how light and color could capture a moment in time. That sounds familiar. Their light and color could capture a moment in time. Brilliant. There was Renoir, the Impressionists like Van Gogh, Monet, Monet's water lilies. Look at that, Claude Monet. But listen to what it says about Claude Monet. This is beautiful, right? It says, if you look at a Monet painting close up, it looks like a crazy jumble of splotches. Splotches. But as you move slowly away from it, the image suddenly becomes clear. By carefully placing hundreds of paint splatches next to each other, Monet created complex colors that resembled those in nature. It also gave his work a shimmering quality. Shimmering means like shaking, it's almost moving. A shimmering quality like the surface of the water in his lilies, right? It almost seems to be moving. It has a shimmering quality. Wow. Splatches. You can talk about splatches and splotches. Splatches or splotches. I think splotches is more common, actually. It's just the dots of paint. And you'll see that all the Impressionists use splotches of paint. I think also people like Jackson Pollock, who just literally splashed the paint on the canvas, that uses splotches as well. Right, great. Dhaliwal, well, welcome back. Not seen you for a long time. I'm great. 13 Arts to Children. No, which book is this? Pachu, it's this one. By Prestel. Have a look on Amazon. I don't know if you can get it, but it's really good. I know, Jacob, I'm a bit excited. Sorry, I love art. Does this book help in speaking? Of course it does, Pachu. It's full of language. So long as you speak it. Right. Yeah, good. Let me come back. We've got Impressionism, splotches. Yeah, I obviously have a soft spot for it. Somebody talked about Picasso. So my last one, right, is Picasso, because he appears here. We've got Expressionism, but when we've got Cubism, right, and Cubism, Pablo Picasso was partly a Cubist or Cubism. So he had this kind of art. He changed traditional art. He changed the rules and made art all about different shapes, often cubes, but not only. And he redefined it, destroying the rules of traditional art. Let's come back to Ielts, because Quesito has a really good question. How can we answer the question of how art has changed in recent decades, right? That's a really good question. How has art changed in recent decades? Well, okay, I didn't get to it, but there is something called pop art, right? And modern art. So let's take pop art and modern art and contrast them with the more traditional, classical Impressionism, maybe. Mind you, if we're talking about recent decades, no, let's keep it simple. Okay. I would say something like, I think there's been a significant change in art in recent decades. I think we had the art maybe 50, 60 years ago, something called contemporary art and pop art that kind of broke the rules of traditional painting, and suddenly anybody was allowed to paint anything. We had, for example, Andy Warhol taking bottles of Coca-Cola or cans of soup and making these lovely prints that represented something quite different from the traditional realist kind of pictures and paintings we had in the past. But I think nowadays we've reached a point where anything goes. Modern day contemporary art can be absolutely anything. I've seen, for example, paintings oil on canvas of a little black dot on a white background, and the artist lets the viewer decide what it means. Maybe it depicts the loneliness of man in the white background of our existence, but it's hard to say. But I think it's much freer and allows people to interpret the art in the way that they want to. That was a very long answer, I know, but it's difficult. But I think you can talk about so contemporary art, modern art, right? Modern art is interesting. I find it very, very hard to get and understand modern art. So you can walk into a gallery or a museum, and there's 2 chairs on the floor, and there's a sign that says 2 chairs on floor, and that is a piece of art. And I'm thinking, I can do that. In fact, there's 2 chairs on the floor in my kitchen. Is that art? Well, or is it the fact it's in the museum that makes it art? Or is the art not about the objects, but about your experience with the objects? What is art? And I think modern art kind of changes the whole question and the idea of art in a big, big way. So you could talk about modern art. You could give examples like the 2 chairs on the floor, or that picture, and I think it was a Russian picture, the white background with the black dot. Now, anybody could paint that, but what does it represent? What does it depict? It depends, right? But it can sell for millions and millions of pounds. Art has become, you could talk about this, it's become a big investment. So traditionally people invested in gold and stocks and shares. Now people are investing more and more in art, not only to put on their walls, but as an investment so that they can save their money and let their money grow. So you could talk about that as well. Absolutely. Contemporary art equals modern art, Fatma. Yes, more or less. Yes. Yeah, probably. Yes. Oh, now Motaz, that is really nice. Well done. Technology can paint 3D art, which is more lively than traditional art. Talk about that, painting 3D art. Talk about digital painting, which has become very, very popular now. And if you're talking about art and photography, you could talk about art that we share. So we used to share photos and paper. Now we share photos and pieces of artwork through our Instagram and Facebook channels. There's a lot there you could talk about. Galina makes a very good point. There are many examples of mediocre, so not very good, nice word, Galina, mediocre works disguised as modern art. Yes. Some people say modern art is a scam, right? It's a scam. So it's not real. It's just it's something to cheat people. It's a scam because we are creating a piece of work. We give it a name, we market it, we create a story, and we convince thousands of people that it's really special. And then it's like a brand. You can sell it for millions. You're buying the name rather than the art. So, yes, you could talk about that as well. Great. Bygone, lovely. How can we use bygone? You mean a bygone era, right? This art is from a bygone era, I would say. So it's from a bygone era. So for example, the Mona Lisa is art from a bygone era. It's not now, it's a past era that has gone. The Mona Lisa, well, you could talk about Leonardo da Vinci and the Mona Lisa. I mean, have you ever been to see the Mona Lisa? It's the biggest disappointment ever because it's about that big. No, you think it's huge, right? You see the pictures. It's really small. And when you go to the Louvre, there's like 50 people in front of you. And it's like watching a football match from the top of the stadium. And you can just see this little dot, which you think is the Mona Lisa without the football. And it's not, it's really disappointing as an experience, right? Obviously, it's a great painting. I don't know why, but it is a great painting. Apparently, I don't know enough about art. I think a lot of art is subjective, right? And this is something you can talk about. Even if you don't know art, it's to say art is subjective. That it's not, if you like something, does it depend on you understanding it or you liking it? And if you like it, you like it. You don't need to understand opera to like opera. You don't need to understand painting to like the Mona Lisa. So you could say it's quite subjective as well. Gosh, I'm speaking so much. I'm really, really thirsty. And I've run out of tea. Never mind. But listen, guys, I do apologize for rabbiting and rambling quite a lot today. I should have been more careful because I knew I would go off on a tangent with art, but I hope we've picked up quite some good watching with open eyes. Great, Mac. I hope you've picked up some language, some vocabulary and words you can use, and some ideas, right? Different things you can talk about around art, periods of art, and your feelings about art as well. I recognize it's really hard. I mean, if I was asked to talk about coding, I wouldn't know what to say because I'm not really into it. And yet I know people who love coding and they can talk for it for hours. They can talk about it for hours. So don't worry, you can always get lots of ideas. You can pick up some of the typical, most famous paintings and talk about them. Van Gogh's Sunflowers, Picasso's The Guitarist or the Cubism. Talk about Monet and the lilies on the water. You can talk about Arte Povera, which I think is great. Talk about that as well. Is a sculptor an artist, Kawa? Absolutely. Oh my God, yes, yes. drink water every 15 minutes. Galina, I would, but I would have to run out of the room and fill up. And I haven't done that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up to finish up for today. I hope there's lots of ideas there that will help you. Remember, the secret is in the practice. Go and practice and speak, even if it's speaking to yourself. Just speak and speak and speak. Practice talking about different things. Practice answering the questions. Remember, don't just focus on today's questions, like the recent questions. Look at questions from the past as well, because they will be recycled and they will come up again. So describing a statue, a work of art, a museum that you like, or a piece of art that you like. The question about photography, you could do this, you could talk about this. Great. Tran, another speaking challenge. Yes. Not just yet, but keep your eyes open. Right. Good night, Keith. Raj, you're obviously going to bed. Not for me yet. I'm going to have my second breakfast. Great. Graffiti, Jerry. Graffiti is a great one to talk about, especially about art changing nowadays. The predominance of graffiti is really, really good. Great. Thank you very, very much. Great. Thanks, Jayanti. Things are okay in Spain. We're all sitting tight. We're all kind of waiting and staying at home. Thank you very much, all of you. Really, it's really enjoyed talking to you and getting your ideas also, because there have been some brilliant ideas and some really nice language coming out today from you guys. Right, you're my favorite students. As a group, you're my only group. I do one-to-one classes, but this group, Facebook, is the only one I do as a group. By and large, I have the Keith Academy, but those are very, very small groups. This is one of my favorite groups, all of you here together. So listen, have a great day. Go and look at some art and think about it in a different way. Okay? Art. Communication captured in time. Great. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you soon. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.